So, Finstreet is building something completely novel. It's the world's first global financial market infrastructure, which is that allows private markets and public securities to trade in the common venue, as well as to access globally dispersed liquidity capital from global investors. And what do you exactly mean by that? If you look at private markets today, they're completely fragmented, they are opaque, they are driven by GP relations, there's manual syndication happening deal after deal. But if you look at the size of the private markets, that's already 15 trillion AUM, so it's huge. But if you look at it, there's no infrastructure that exists. And so what we are allowing, utilizing ADGM's legal clarity, is to allow for these private market securities from across the world to be listed, traded, and settled at T+0, utilizing our securities trading venue and the depository. Now, there's also this another element of price discovery. So, so far, all private market securities work based off valuations. And what we are also allowing is pricing to occur on the assets without affecting the stable growth of the assets, for the issuers, for the fund managers, etc., but equally allowing for synthetic liquidity to be accessed via banks and via private credit managers. And when I said global liquidity pools, what I mean by that is ADGM allows for issuer and investor passporting. So that means issuers and investors from across the world can find their perfect, high-yielding asset as well from across the world. And so, this is what we've launched, with Finstreet. So we're very excited, because this has not been done before. So what we're doing is structuring private market assets very carefully with the top asset managers, with the largest corporate institutions as well. And investors can access those alongside the largest investors, sovereigns, etc. So it's a very unique and propelling, a proposition. But, you asked me what kind of assets. So, we are, as expected, completely asset agnostic, even in private markets. So whether it's private credit or private equity, infrastructure, real estate, we are structuring all of them as programmable securities, which are denominated in US dollar, and we're providing access to global investors. Another thing that I do want to add is that, because my honest belief is that if there is an asset, it should be allowed access to capital, not just because of the origin of the country, but because of its idiosyncratic merit. And that will happen now because, we have the safety net of this jurisdiction. And, even if there is an asset in Europe or in Africa that is high yielding and investors feel, that this is the asset that they want to invest in, they can finally do that, under the application of the UK common law with the US dollar denomination. It just makes things a lot more streamlined, transparent, standardized. The UAE is, at the center of financial innovation. I honestly believe that they are the global investment hub. Whether it's the East or the West, UAE seems to be connecting, the East and the West in capital. There's a huge amount of capital influx that we have seen in the region. ADGM alone has 150 asset managers come in and set up from both East and the West. There's no other jurisdiction that has seen such kind of capital influx. And, we've already seen 700 billion circa of assets under management only in this jurisdiction alone, and which is, of course, separate from the sovereign wealth funds, which is, the highest. It's 1 trillion and plus sovereign-backed entities as well. So there's a huge amount of movement, in terms of capital, in terms of assets flowing in this region. But generally speaking, private markets, private assets are no longer alternative, in the sense that they used to be against the mainstream public markets. And that's what we are already seeing as a trend here as well.